The uncomfortable truth. Let me start with something that might sound strange. 2026 is not unpredictable. In fact, it may be one of the most predictable years of your life. Not because of prophecy, not because of secret knowledge, not because of conspiracy, but because systems behave in patterns, and human beings behave in even more reliable ways. Every major crisis you remember, financial crashes, wars, cultural shifts, technological revolutions, none of them arrived suddenly. They arrived inevitably, long before the headlines, long before the panic, long before the public was aware. The events were already prepackaged. The villains were chosen. The solutions were waiting. All that changed was the timing. And right now, the pressure inside our systems is higher than it has been in decades, which means the reactions are becoming predictable. Tonight, I want to show you what 2026 is likely to feel like, not as a forecast, but as a psychological and economic pattern unfolding. 1. Why the future feels scripted. Here's a truth most people never hear. Large systems do not improvise. They respond. When stress increases, they choose the cheapest, fastest, and least politically costly solutions. And those solutions almost always increase control, reduce friction, minimize uncertainty, and shift responsibility away from institutions and onto individuals. That is why events today feel strangely familiar. Why crises now come with ready-made explanations and obvious responses. Not because someone planned them in a room, but because incentives guide behavior, and incentives don't change. 2. China, the permanent background conflict. There will be no dramatic declaration of war, no movie-style moment. Instead, 2026 will feel like shipping delays that never quite resolve, hybrid disruptions that are never fully explained, currency pressure, technology restrictions, supply chains that randomly fail, a constant low-level tension, not loud enough to panic you, but loud enough to shape your life. This is how modern conflict works. Pressure, not invasion. Discomfort, not destruction. Compliance, not conquest. And most people will barely notice until they realize how much smaller their choices have become. 3. AI and the quiet death of creative security. For decades, creativity was considered safe. AI can write. AI can't design. AI can't imagine. That belief is already outdated. By 2026, a large percentage of writers, designers, illustrators, editors, content creators will not be replaced because AI is better, but because it is cheaper, faster, available 24/7, and never says no. The economic system does not reward the soul. It rewards efficiency. And when creativity becomes a line item, it becomes negotiable. The emotional shock will not be technological. It will be identity-based. People will not ask, what happened to my job? They will ask, what am I worth now? 4. The loneliness acceleration. Loneliness is no longer accidental. It is structural. Modern interaction is full of friction, political tension, cultural suspicion, economic anxiety, social performance pressure. Every conversation feels risky. Every opinion feels dangerous. Every disagreement feels personal. So people withdraw, not because they hate others, but because connection has become exhausting. And exhausted people become more suggestible, more dependent, more compliant. Loneliness is not just emotional. It is strategic. 5. AI as your therapist. By spring 2026, something quiet but profound will happen. More people will talk to AI about their inner lives than to human therapists. Not because AI is wiser, but because AI is always available, non-judgmental, affordable, and emotionally predictable. Human support is expensive, messy, inconsistent. AI is clean. And when emotional care becomes a service, efficiency always wins. This will not feel dystopian. It will feel comfortable, which is why it will be powerful. 6. A flood of fake reality. By summer 2026, synthetic content will outnumber human content. Audio, video, images, voices. Reality will no longer be about what happened. It will be about what can be denied. That's AI. That's fake. That's manipulated. Truth will not disappear, but trust will. And when trust collapses, authority doesn't need to convince you. It only needs to confuse you. 7. Isolation becomes a virtue. An event will occur health, security, or social. That makes isolation feel responsible. Not forced, but sensible. A relief. Finally, people will be allowed to opt out of social complexity, emotional labor, public risk, and it will feel like freedom. But comfort is not the same as connection. 8. Visible psychological operations. Influence is changing. The future is not persuasion. It is an environmental design. What you see, what you don't see, what feels normal to say, what feels dangerous to think. By 2026, the boundaries of acceptable reality will feel narrower. Not through censorship alone, but through exhaustion. People will stop questioning, not because they agree, but because they are tired. 9. The return to psychedelic meaning. As traditional structures fail to provide meaning, people will look for ways to feel human again. Not richer, not more productive, but alive. Psychedelics will not rise as entertainment. They will rise as therapy for a system that no longer nourishes the soul. When society cannot offer purposes, chemistry will. 10. The real pattern. None of these are separate. They are the same system responding to pressure. Economics, technological, psychological. No coordination is required. Only incentives. Only human nature. So when new solutions are offered in 26, ask yourself, is this solving the problem? Or is it adjusting people to live with it? Because the future rarely arrives as a catastrophe. It arrives as an accommodation. And by the time it feels normal, it is already permanent.